So how actually does a parachute deploy? Hi guys, welcome to Up in the Air with me, Skydiver Tanner. This is episode number 8, and today we are going to be discussing how a parachute deploys on a sport rig. Usually they are a 7-cell or a 9-cell, and today helping me is my good friend Jerry.
Hello.
And Jerry, you are now a skydiver. How long have you been skydiving?
About a year. I got my license last year, and I've been in the community for about 2 years, going on 3.
Okay, and how did you get into skydiving?
By you, actually.
By me?
You got me into the parachute packing business 3 years ago, and it just progressed from there.
Yeah, so I started packing parachutes 3 years ago for one jump season, and Jerry was hanging out. And I taught him how to pack, and it kind of all went downhill from there, didn't it? So today, Jerry's going to be helping me out to show you guys how a parachute actually deploys from a sport rig. Now, the big misconception that a lot of people have is you hear pulling the ripcord. On a sport rig and what most skydivers use, you do not have a ripcord that you pull. So we're going to show you guys how that works. I'm going to have Jerry lay on the floor with my skydiving rig on, and we'll show you guys step by step how everything gets going. Okay, so I got Jerry laying on the ground. We're going to pretend that he's doing a skydive and that he is belly to earth orientation and he's about to deploy his parachute. So Jerry, I'm going to have you pull out the pilot chute. So he's going to reach back and he's going to throw it. Now if you noticed, he threw it pretty hard, and we want to get it way over here just like that. And I'll show you in a little bit as to why. If he were to just kind of barely throw it out and it gets caught here in what we would call a burble, this is basically a blank space right here, so it just kind of swirls around. So you want to try to get it in as much clean, open air as possible. And the reason is, once you throw it out, you're going to see this starts catching air. So it's basically like a miniature parachute that's going to catch air. So when he throws it out, as he's falling, all that air goes in here. It acts like a tiny little parachute. It's going to pull on this bridle, and it's going to start pulling in here. Now, if you remember from my episode number 2 video of safety gear on here, there's a safety or a closing pin underneath here. And that keeps everything inside the rig as you're getting ready to skydive, but as you throw this out, now it's going to throw that pin out, pulls it out. This is still going up in the air, mind you. Everything is going to start pulling out, and there you have a deployment bag. Go ahead, stand up. So you're starting to go from the horizontal to the vertical position. This is all happening really, really fast, and it's going to start pulling up on the risers. Risers are going to come out, yank, and go above your head like that. And it is kind of a yank just like that. So you're going to have these coming up above your head. If you notice, everything's kind of in a zigzag pattern right here. So as this starts to go, it's going to start to pull. This is going to be above his head. We're going to pause it so you guys can see closer up of what it looks like. Okay, so we got the pilot chute. It's catching air way up here. And the deployment bag has now pulled out of the rig. And like I said, you can see all these stows here. So what happens is, as that pilot chute keeps pulling, it's going to start unstowing back and forth like this, the parachute. And one more. And there you see everything starts to come out. So this came up, it's pulled all that out, unstowed everything. There's a little pocket right here, and air is going to go in there, and it's going to start filling up this canopy. I'm going to pause it again because I'm going to have Jerry come help me out in just a second here. But this is how most of it starts to come out. Okay, so the canopy is now out of the deployment bag. Air is catching up on here. You grab one side, and as the air starts to go in, the canopy starts to open up. You have this portion right here called a slider. Now it's a high-tech name because it actually slides up and down the lines. And the whole reason for this is it helps slow down the inflation of the canopy. And this will literally slide down the lines as the canopy starts to spread open more and more. And like I said, it just kind of helps slow the opening so it's not such an abrupt, hard opening as it goes. So you can kind of see a little bit. Sliding down the lines right there. This is a 150 square foot canopy. You can see it gets really, really big. I'll keep going. So as this is going and it's opening up in the front here, we'll kind of throw the pilot chute back, is the nose section. And you see all these openings. What happens is this kind of points down a little bit. So as you're still falling, air starts to now catch up in these pockets, and it's what it starts to inflate the canopy, creating a wing shape. And so once you're under canopy, you're still going down, but going forward, and that's the downward motion is what keeps these cells inflated and keeping it in the wing shape as you're under canopy. So you can see really, really big, 150 square foot. I started on a 210 square foot. I do have a 135 square foot that I will have to put in this rig at some point, but it is a different platform. It's semi-elliptical. This is a rectangular one. And you want to get pretty proficient on a certain size before you start to downsize, because a lot of accidents can happen if you downsize too quickly. So I didn't pull out any of the brakes. I didn't pull anything out to show you guys any of that. It's no big deal. And I'm probably going to do a time lapse of packing this for you guys so you can see what that looks like. Maybe in a future date I can go through all the steps to actually packing. Okay, So now you got to see how a sport rig parachute deploys, whether it be a rectangular, semi-elliptical, or elliptical. They're all pretty much going to be the same. There's no ripcord like everyone thinks. It's that pilot chute that you throw out. The pilot chute catches air, and then it pulls everything out of the system. Now, you will have like a ripcord if you're a student and they don't want you learning how to do the pilot chute yet, but then you still got to hold on to that. Still same concept. You pull a ripcord, a pilot chute springs out, pulls the whole rest of the system out. But for a sport rig, which almost every skydiver, licensed skydiver jumps, that's what it's going to look like. And then you got to see a time lapse of a pack job. Now, I haven't packed a parachute in about 2 years, so it took me a little bit. And would I jump what I packed? Yes, I absolutely would jump what I packed, because it's probably going to be the softest opening that I've had in a long time. There's a thing called trash packing, and it's where you kind of pack really, really quickly. There's a few main things that you want to do when you're packing, and those got done. Getting it in the deployment bag is probably the hardest part, and because I haven't done it in 2 years, it was spilling over the sides a little bit, but it's still fabric. It's a lot of air that you just squeezed out, so it kind of, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but like I said, it's probably going to be the softest opening I've had in a long time. Do you have anything you want to say? No? All right. I just want to thank Jerry for helping me out with all this. We tried this one other time before at his apartment, and maybe we'll put some bloopers at the end for you guys to see how funny it looked. So we came to iFly here where we had a lot more space and were able to do it. Hope you guys have a great day and hope you learned something. See you next time. All right. Should we have my head centered, because then it looks like I'm like a god. Oh! Deployment bag. The deployment bag starts getting pulled up by this pilot chute. You can see that there's lines starting to come out. Now here, this D-bag starts to now pull, and you can see the stows start coming out. If you open, the slider essentially would start sliding down these lines so this canopy can start to open. And it gets